Talent and power are hard to assess. Is a vampire really stronger than a werewolf? Are all angels stronger than all demons? Here's a look at the most powerful villains on Supernatural, from strong to strongest. No matter who Alistair is currently possessing, he's always one of the most powerful demons. Hell's grand torturer answers to few, save high-ranking demons like Lilith. He's tasked with torturing Dean for about 4 months in Earth time in order to free Lucifer from his god-built cage. Although Dean is a human and Alistair has home court advantage in Hell, the thought of any entity having the ability to hold Dean down for that long further proves that Alistair isn't a normal demon. His biggest claim to fame is playing a role in triggering the apocalypse. Even so, he's no match for Sam, wielding the full force of his psychic abilities. After pinning Alistair to the wall, interrogating him about Lilith's plans, and discovering his lack of knowledge, Sam kills him. So goes one of Hell's absolute nastiest creatures, and one of Supernatural's most memorable villains. Azazel isn't the most powerful villain of all time, but the yellow-eyed demon is basically the reason John Winchester became a hunter, and the reason he would go on to train his sons in the family business. Azazel murders Sam and Dean's mother in Supernatural's pilot episode, launching the Winchesters' long, complex journeys as hunters of all that goes bump in the night. He's basically the reason for the entire show. As a Prince of Hell, one of the first generation of demons created by Lucifer, he's already no average bad guy. Salt and holy water have nothing on him. The Winchesters need a relic to take down Azazel. Enter the Colt, a revolver that could kill virtually anything. On the verge of elimination, Dean shoots Azazel with the Colt and it works like a charm. He isn't quite that easy to get rid of, however. He continues to haunt the show long past his demise. Prince of Hell casts a very long shadow. Metatron is an angel and the scribe of God, the only scribe to have ever existed, in fact. Eons ago, he was responsible for transcribing God's word, gaining universe-shaping information in the process. He left heaven to hide among humans for fear of what the archangels might do to him in pursuit of that information. Metatron is the creator of the Angel Tablet, which grants immense power to those in contact with it. Power he eventually exploits to expel all angels from heaven. While this makes Metatron unimaginably powerful, his rule is short-lived, and he ends up locked in Heaven's dungeon for his crimes. Even though he's eventually imploded into nothingness by Amara, he still remains an unforgettable character. The Alpha Vampire is the first vampire, and therefore the paragon of all vampires. He knows of the ancient Leviathans and claims to remember the Continental Divide, which gives the audience an idea of how old and powerful he is. This is a creature who has survived for millions of years as the thing in the dark. It would be an understatement to say he's not to be trifled with. It can be argued that the Alpha Vampire isn't truly villainous, as he mostly just tries to live his best life as a unique creature. But at the same time, he did create vampires who have killed countless people. In the end, he falls to the legendary cult, slayer of entities otherwise invulnerable. Abaddon, a knight of hell, took down the original Men of Letters single-handedly. She's the worst kind of villain, at least from the Winchesters' perspective, massively powerful and absolutely desperate for control. Trained by the biblical Cain, Abaddon is an ancient threat, well accustomed to blood and mayhem. There is no one she won't possess, slaughter, or maim in order to get what she wants. After time traveling to the present day, she decides to pursue her biggest plan yet: become the Queen of Hell. Like so many baddies, she wants to rule the world through vast armies, reserves of power, and iron law. Too bad she comes across Sam and Dean Winchester. Dean, empowered by the Mark of Cain, eventually kills Abaddon with the First Blade, a relic once described as the most dangerous weapon on the planet. Lilith is the first demon Lucifer ever created and the highest-ranking demon, second only to Lucifer himself. She's also the final seal of the 66 that, when broken, frees Lucifer from his cage. Even her death furthers a malicious agenda. How's that for a commitment to evil? Lilith's villainous resume is long. She commands a demon army, murders Dean with a hellhound, and tortures countless humans. Although she arranges for Sam to kill her, breaking the 66th seal, she's eventually resurrected by God to retrieve the Equalizer, a gun created by God that can kill anything. She destroys the gun and delivers some truly terrible news. God's endgame is for Sam and Dean to kill each other. She's effortlessly killed by the Archangel Michael not long after, a short resurrection, but one that managed to shake the foundations of the supernatural universe. Rowena is arguably the most powerful witch in the supernatural universe and really not all that much of a bad guy. She often helps Sam and Dean out, sacrifices herself heroically, and even leaves her magical possessions to Sam after her demise. All this aside, however, she's Season 10's big bad, power-hungry, in possession of undeniably dark magic, and willing to do anything to benefit herself. What makes Rowena so powerful? She is unstoppably clever and thinks 10 steps ahead of everyone else. For example, when Lucifer kills her, she manages to come back to life thanks to resurrection spells she'd prepared in advance. A later death is orchestrated to drag the damned souls and demons freed by God back to hell. However, it's later revealed that she goes on to become the Queen of Hell, so really, she's not doing too badly in the afterlife. Crowley's resume is riddled with good and evil, making him more of an anti-hero than a true out-and-out bad guy. That said, Crowley is a demon. He's power-hungry, puts himself before all others, and is generally predisposed towards nastiness. There are more powerful beings than Crowley, but he's uniquely gifted. Son of Rowena, he uses his smarts to outwit other beings, which allows him to survive and outlive more capable demons. And in the real world, it also doesn't hurt that he's a fan favorite. That's the sort of armor that tends to keep a character healthy for years, no matter what kinds of shenanigans they get themselves involved in.
I don't read Chinese.
Talk about the dumbing down of America.
Though he's been everything from a human to the king of hell, Crowley is a demon through and through. However, his final act is heroic. He kills himself with an angelic blade to seal Lucifer in an alternate dimension. Light or dark, Crowley is truly one of a kind. The mother of all monsters is named Eve, and as her title suggests, Eve created the very first versions of each monster, the alphas. Eve is older than angels and hell itself. She loves her children, despite their monstrous natures, and while she cannot claim the highest body count on the show, the amount of destruction and death her children bring to the world is unfathomable. While Eve is only around for one season, she isn't a pushover. There's only one viable way to kill her: Phoenix Ash. Once the heroes find it, Dean consumes the ash in a shot of liquor, then goads Eve into biting him, killing her. Once upon a time, Dick Roman was a billionaire businessman. Then he was murdered and replaced by the leader of the Leviathans, creatures so powerful God created purgatory to lock them away forever. When a billionaire is combined with God's first monsters, the result is one of the most powerful beings on Supernatural. Leviathan Dick Roman isn't only one of the oldest beings of the series, but he's also considered one of the most powerful. Naturally, it takes a special weapon, the bone of a righteous mortal, washed in the 3 bloods of the fallen, to take him down for good. Without this weapon, the Leviathans likely would have taken over the world. Despite the Leviathan's legendary brutality, Leviathan Dick Roman only hangs around for a single season. He might be an ancient figure of menace, but he goes up against Sam and Dean, and eons old baddies don't tend to fare too well against the relentless brothers. Raphael is an archangel, one of the most powerful creatures in the supernatural universe. He can summon massive storms, seems omniscient, and can black out the entire eastern seaboard with a blink. He's ancient, unknowable, and altogether scary. Although Raphael's time on Supernatural is fairly short-lived, he's one of the most powerful beings on the show. Few things can actually kill an archangel. Other archangels, God, Amara, or a handful of ancient weapons. He's about as untouchable as a creature can get, which makes it all the more impressive that Cashtel is able to take him down. Even then, he can only do it when supercharged by all the souls in Purgatory. Like his brothers, Lucifer, Raphael, and Gabriel, Michael is an archangel. However, the Michael of the alternate universe, known as Apocalypse World, is easily one of the most powerful creations in the series, and one of the toughest villains Sam and Dean are ever forced to stop. In his world, one torn apart by the absence of the Winchester brothers, he's a conqueror of unimaginable power. He's often referred to as the Genghis Khan of its ruined landscape. As the eldest son of God, alternate Michael is arguably even more powerful than Lucifer himself. Some of the ingredients the Winchesters need in the war against alternate Michael include hunters, Cashtel, Rowena, Jack, Gabriel, Lucifer, and countless others. The battle is arduous, but Michael is eventually defeated by Jack, who exploits Michael's hubris. The original Death, in theory, is in the top 3 strongest beings on Supernatural. Death has existed from the beginning of time until his imminent demise. The original Death, however, wasn't necessarily an evil threat to the Winchesters. The primordial entity was only interested in keeping order. Eventually, Dean kills Death with his own scythe, and Billy, a Reaper killed by Cashtel, is reincarnated and promoted as the new Death. Billy assists the Winchesters in their endeavors and is considered neutral for most of her time as Death. She doesn't become a true villain until late in the series. As the new Death, she inherits powers and is among the most potent entities, and is the only being that can read God's book. But the Shadow drags her to a place of nothingness known as the Empty, and her reign of terror ends. At the height of her powers, though, Billy was one of the strongest villains on Supernatural, even if she wasn't considered an antagonist for long.
This is the last time you'll see me again. Until the end.
Lucifer is one of the most powerful villains on Supernatural. A fallen archangel, he's the original ruler of hell and the creator of demons. Lilith, the princes of hell, the knights of hell, and all other manner of dark creatures spring from his power. Despite his abilities and maliciousness, Lucifer is actually a pretty likable character. Sure, the devil himself is oozing with darkness, but this version of Lucifer is at times laid back and comical. Had it not been for the Winchesters, Lucifer stood a very real chance of taking over the world. Eventually, he's put down for good by alternate Michael and Dean. His soul then dwells in the Empty, a peaceful void where divine creatures sleep forever. Because living things don't stay dead on Supernatural for long, Lucifer is resurrected by God, but then killed again, once and for all, by Michael with an archangel blade. The Darkness, also known as Amara, has existed since before the beginning of time. She's God's older sister. God had to create the archangels to fight a war against her, which they eventually won and sealed her away. She's the primordial origin point of all existence, the nothingness that reigned before consciousness and creation. If either she or God is destroyed, reality will cease to exist. Amara is presumably stronger than God, yet God can, with the help of others, stop her. As a pillar of reality itself, she's the most powerful force the Winchesters have ever faced. Luckily for the Winchesters, the darkness leaves on her own terms. But then, Amara completely rewrites history in the final season, claiming that she and God were born simultaneously. She allows God to absorb her, but luckily a juiced-up Jack absorbs God's powers and becomes the new Almighty. Amara is also absorbed by Jack, and they live in harmony. From an aspiring writer to the creator of the universe, Chuck has a long and complicated history. Chuck is seen as a good guy, or at least a mutual party to the Winchesters, for a good portion of the series. It's not until the end of Supernatural when he's considered a full-on villain and, in fact, the big bad of the entire series. For a long time, Amara was the perceived strongest being, but Chuck being revealed as the big bad of Supernatural counts for a lot, as he's the final boss that stands in the way of Dean and Sam's happiness. At the height of his powers, Chuck absorbs Amara, making him an unstoppable force and the most powerful villain ever. But alas, it's short-lived. Jack strips Chuck of his powers, and the creator of the universe is left to live out the rest of his days as a mere mortal. The story, to Chuck's dismay, continues without him.